Nope, nope, nope. I'm afraid I'm gonna burn my tongue. Never mind. This was bad idea, bad idea. Cut. Hey fellow film nerds, Leah here, and welcome back to my series Editor's Corner, where we break down some really impactful scenes from films across the genres from the perspective of a film editor. As you might be able to tell, in honor of this very special Halloween episode, I am dressed up as my favorite female villain from a horror movie, Jennifer's Body. I was gonna dress up as a character from the film I'm reviewing today, but the Super 8 camera just wasn't as cute a costume, so Jennifer it is. Today we're gonna be looking at one of the best jump scares of all time. It's a moment that stuck with me for years after first viewing and also haunted my dreams the entire time I was working on this episode. That would be the Lawn Work '86 Super 8 film from the 2012 movie Sinister. But before we take a look at that scene and what makes it such an effective jump scare, let's look at how found footage has become such a popular narrative tool in the horror genre. Found footage has become an incredibly popular subset of the scary movie category for both economic and aesthetic reasons. However, it's a fairly new trend in the overall world of Hollywood filmmaking. While many attribute the first use of found footage in a horror movie to 1980's Cannibal Holocaust, followed by the 1992 mockumentary Man Bites Dog, it was its use in the 1999 box office phenomenon The Blair Witch Project that solidified found footage as a successful horror framing device. One particularly common found footage narrative tool was the use of at-home media, such as security cameras or VHS tapes, as a way of turning benign, everyday objects into malevolent forces. Whether it was an unmarked tape that caused the viewer to die 7 days later, or the constant, dreadful pan of a security camera monitoring a suburban home, found footage flicks not only tended to gross profits well over their initial production budget, but struck fear into audience members in a way cinematic horror couldn't. Writer Nicole Henley even commented on the technique, saying, "While it's an overdone medium, in many ways it can be considered the most exciting and creative film technique incorporated into the art of filmmaking." Yet, while it's an inventive narrative tool with effective results, the subgenre has become extremely competitive, with more and more found footage flicks coming out every year. Sinister has managed to blend the classic cinematic horror techniques with well-placed found footage shots to make a uniquely terrifying end product. The horror genre has some of the most passionate fans of all time, and there's a lot of debate over what makes a film terrifying. Suspense, dread, special effects, gore. Any of those things can contribute to making something a scary movie for an individual. However, one study sought to determine this using science. In the Science of Scare project, they fitted viewers with a heart rate monitor to monitor their heart as they watched the 50 top-rated horror films of all time. They basically were trying to determine how much their heart rate rose above its resting heart rate in order to determine how literally heart-pounding a film was. Sinister saw the second highest BPM spike, beat out only by Insidious. However, it also had the highest average BPM rate over the course of viewing, crowning it the scariest movie of all time, according to science. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at that jump scare that caused that massive spike and helped crown Sinister as the scariest movie of all time in 2020. So in a genre filled with cheap jump scares, what made this one stand out? Let's take a look. Before beginning, I want to caution viewers that while Sinister is not heavy on the gore, the Super 8 films I'll be showing depict graphic, disturbing images, as well as spoilers for the film. Proceed with caution. Sinister follows Ellison Oswald, played by Ethan Hawke, a true crime writer looking for his next big story. When Oswald discovers a snuff film depicting the deaths of a family, he decides to solve the mystery. He moves his own family into the victim's home and begins his investigation, finding more old film footage and other clues that begin to show a supernatural force may be at work. As Ellison dives deeper into the story, both he and his family learn residing in the home itself could prove fatal for them all. Now let's take a look at a couple reasons why the lawnmower jump scare in Sinister was so effective. Number 1, a build-up worth the payoff. This film is paced masterfully, with director Scott Derrickson less interested in manufacturing jump scares and more focused on creating a foreboding atmosphere. Similarly, the immediate threat is not made apparent, as the setup is true crime, with paranormal overtones slowly being added into the plot. It's also important to note that the wait for a jump scare can sometimes be scarier than the actual jump scare itself, and the entire movie acts as an example of suspense building. Editor Frederick Thoroval commented on the editing aspect to build tension for Sinister, saying, "I learned with cutting to stay on the long shot even if nothing is happening, because you create an expectation and you can make it deflate, and then boom, you have the surprise. The Super 8 films also act as a narrative tool that creates a consistent formula to lull viewers into a false sense of security of what to expect from each film, before the terrifying jump scare in Lawnmower 86 catches viewers off guard. In fact, this jump scare, one of the few jump scares in the entire film, happens nearly halfway through the movie, capitalizing on the dread that it's been building, and capitalizing on a scare that is truly terrifying and worth the wait. Much like other horror classics, The Ring, The Babadook, or The Exorcist, there is a general lack of jump scares up until this point, with more focus put on creating a scene of general unease with lighting, sound design, and spooky imagery. Number 2. Misdirection. As mentioned in a previous episode, many filmmaking techniques stem from master illusionists pre-moving picture era. The art of misdirection, or the action or process of directing someone to the wrong place or in the wrong direction, is often used for the jump scare effect in horror. Scary movies use this tactic through camera framing or depth of field to produce impactful jump scares by forcing audiences to look left while a creepy hand comes from the right. When done sparingly, this type of misdirection can keep audiences guessing as to what or when something terrifying might happen. Meanwhile, the formulas of the home movies in Sinister helped create the ultimate misdirection, showing the happy, tranquil scene with an immediate cut to how they died. Up until the big scare in Lawnmower 86, we never actually witness a jump scare on film, but rather just the disturbing deaths silently playing out on screen. This is the established pattern. There is also the buildup around this mysterious presence, this terrifying being that keeps popping up in the Super 8s and around the house. Because people are now trained to look for his presence, they don't know to look for what else might pop up on screen. By keeping audiences guessing or lulling them into a false state of security, when the ultimate jump scare happens, the misdirection has been achieved. Number 3. Withholding information from the audience. This technique was referenced in my episode on Inglourious Basterds, where the goal was building suspense. This same technique, modified, can also be used to build dread. Through the found footage narrative device, audiences are literally held to the camera view provided by the camera operator. While the non-diegetic filming of a movie is more equivalent to an omnipotent viewer, found footage forces viewers into the perspective of the film characters. The safety of distance or professional lighting is no longer there, but rather viewers are forced into cramped closets or ominous woods with narrowed points of view. Part of what makes the grainy Super 8 footage so terrifying in Lawnmower 86 is how it forces viewers to watch the scene, lit only by the onboard light of the camera and without the full scope of the yard. Viewers are left to watch and wait, scanning the small amount of visible footage available, hoping to see the danger before it sees them. Finally, while some may go to horror movies for the gore, in my opinion, scenes left to the imagination are scarier than anything produced on screen. I want to let this scene play out now so you can view the jump scare in its entirety. Up until this point, the Super 8 deaths all occur silently at somewhat of a distance, with the lawnmower jump scare providing only a brief, horrifying glimpse of the lawnmower running over the person's head before it cuts to Ethan Hawke's reaction, leaving viewers to imagine just how horrible a death it was. Sometimes it's what the movie doesn't show you that's the most horrifying. Number 4. Empathy. Watching someone watch a scary movie. Part of what makes the found footage genre so terrifying is when it mixes with standard cinematic storytelling, aka the entire film isn't found footage, but rather the characters in the movie find a tape of found footage. While as a viewer, watching scary images on screen can produce feelings of dread, there is something extra spooky about watching someone watching scary images. This is because we as viewers feel empathy for the characters. Therefore, we transport ourselves to their experience, no longer watching the scary movie from the comfort of our living room or movie theater, but instead the vacant library or creepy dark room. Watching Oswald watch those scary images adds an extra dimension to the viewing experience, making us now worry for his safety as if we were really there with him watching those movies. Adding this extra level of watching someone watch the Super 8 films is what makes them so terrifying. Number 5. Practical effects. Not to be this person, but 9 times out of 10, I prefer practical effects used whenever possible, especially when it comes to a horror movie. Because horror movies are all about believability, I think the more filmmakers are able to make something happen in the real world, the better it will translate as reality to the viewer. In an interview with the director of Sinister, Scott Derrickson, he stated every stunt seen in the Super 8s was actually performed in real life. They really hung people from a tree and pulled them into the pool, even placing Bagul in the bottom of the pool, all performed safely, of course. The use of realism was further enhanced by Derrickson, choosing to film all the Super 8 home movies before production on the actual film took place. Much like the end scene of Alien, another horror classic where cast members were not told ahead of time about the alien jump scare, the pre-filming was done so Ethan Hawke would be watching the films in real time with the audience, producing authentic reactions that enhanced the overall realism. Additionally, the subtle sound design and lack of the traditional non-diegetic scary music allow for the final reveal to be punctuated only with a jarring scream rather than a musical score. This gives authenticity to the tape, making it all the more horrifying. Never underestimate the power of effective sound design. The use of practical effects with the aesthetic of the grainy Super 8 films is what makes them look so real, and them looking so real is what makes them extra terrifying. Number 6. The jump scare advances the plot. Jump scares have become commonplace in horror movies and can absolutely add to overall tension building of a scene, even when they are used as misdirection. However, when done poorly or simply overly done, they can begin to desensitize the viewer. One example of poor use of jump scares occurs in The Nun, for multiple reasons. The Nun, in my opinion, is the weakest of the Conjuring universe, which has otherwise become known for great horror. It suffers from both an overuse of jump scare and an oppressively creepy tone. For instance, The Nun has generally spooky imagery, with the overly creepy castle and the 0-star Airbnb setting the main characters stay in, leaving little contrast between settings, making seeing the bad nun less scary because even the nice nuns are also kinda scary. Everything is just constantly scary. For me watching, it'd be like, oh my god, it's the nun! Oh wait, no, that's a good nun. Wait, no, it's the bad nun! No, wait, no, it's the good nun. Jump scares that acted as constant misdirection with little adding to the plot. On the other hand, Sinister shows peaceful imagery with feelings of dread slowly building throughout the film as the plot thickens. Even the innocuous act of mowing doesn't immediately elicit fear, making the sudden reveal of the victim all that more terrifying. The scare also advances the plot, adding a new element to the viewer that the person filming is also doing the killing, creating a horrifying mystery that leads to the major reveal at the end of the movie. The jump scare is not only terrifying, but crucial to the plot, and could not be removed without changing the overall story of the film. Because the scare is also crucial to the plot, it sticks with viewers, only becoming more and more terrifying in retrospect once viewers learn who is actually behind the camera. This adds intrigue and terror to the existence of the multiple home movies. While the found footage subgenre has become a staple in the horror community, and jump scares can be a dime a dozen in scary movies, Sinister manages to utilize all the terrifying elements to leave viewers with one of the most memorable kills that will stick with them every time they mow their lawn. On the Filmmakers podcast, Frederick Thurival, who was the editor for Taken, Promising Young Woman, and Sinister, commented on editing across genres, saying, "When you cut a scene, you cut a scene. You have stakes to deal with, you have finding the best performance, being on the good angles at the good moment, and telling a story, whatever it is. It can be horror, it can be action, it can be drama, it can be comedy. It's the same editing process. What is important is to try to tell the story the best way possible and convey the vision of the director. We are kind of midwives as an editor. We are there for 9 months to help the director give birth to that movie." And that was the lawnmower scene from Sinister, a scene so terrifying, it literally horrified me and made me jump every single time it happened while I was reviewing this scene for this episode. I was literally Buddy the Elf and the Jack in the Box. As always, I wanted to leave you with my comfort flick pick of the week, which is Taken. This film, coincidentally enough, was also edited by Frederick Thoroval. While it might not seem like the typical comfort movie flick, watching zaddy Liam Neeson fight tooth and nail to get his daughter back from evildoers is constantly satisfying to watch. With some really great action scenes and a standout performance from Neeson, it's a great, good, overtaking evil film that I can't get enough of. Check it out if you haven't already, or give it a rewatch if it's been a while. If you like what you saw here today, give this video a like and comment down below your favorite jump scare from a horror movie. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated on more episodes and other great content from our channel. Thanks so much for watching, stay tuned, and stay spooky. Nope, I still don't like that gag. I'm not gonna do it.